Welcome back to the Source Garage. This is the CycloShine spinning base assembly video, as well as the optional support arm if you bought that as well. So what I've got laid out here is all the different components, fasteners that would come with your order, and I'm going to walk through how to assemble everything in the most efficient way possible and go over some tips and tricks and maybe some different ways you can utilize the stand as well and make some modifications yourself if you want. So let's get right into it. So to real quickly here walk over everything you'll be getting. So like I said, this is for the spinning base and the optional support arm. So I'll kind of clarify the different aspects here and some of the other optional items. So everyone obviously will get a set of instructions with some nice 3D printed or 3D exploded diagrams so you can see everything more clearly and help with the assembly. The smaller roller will only come if you order the support arm. Casters are optional as well, and these spacers will come with it. These help offset the stand, and you'll see why those are needed later. The feet, these are the only thing not stainless steel here, the furniture feet that come with the spinning base. Your large pin, so this is a M14. Everything else here is 1/4 inch M5 or M10. Yeah, that's right. So M10 for the feet and the casters. Most of the bolts are 1/4 inch, and the only thing is M5 is these little bolts here, which go on your transfer rollers. I got washers and nuts for the top of the feet. Your center pin, so this is a M10 with some plastic tubing on it, which I'll explain in the assembly process. And in your base kit that you'll get, you'll find that it may be cut open and some tape on it. That's because I'm putting the pin inside of there to go with the base kit, because everyone needs one of those. You'll have 4 brackets with the spinning base as well as nuts and bolts to go with it. And then if you order the optional support arm, you'll get a bunch of extra stuff, more bolts, 2 extra brackets, nuts and washers to mount everything, the hinge of course, top of the T-handle, the actual back arm itself, and then some plastic, these plastic end caps to put in the ends of the frame. And then of course you'll get the spinning base here. So let's go on to the assembly. So to start with, we're going to put the pin through the middle of the bottom plate. Now this has to be done in the sorter, and I'm going to show you the technique to do this because this is for sure the hardest part of the assembly process, and I'm sure people will get hung up the most. So this is actually a 3/8 inch bolt. I think I might have said it was a M10. So it's 3/8 inch. It'll come in the package like this. You'll have your 3/8 inch nut with it. And we're going to take this and put it through the center of this bottom plate here. Now the thing to note about the plates is both of them in the center here have been reamed out slightly, so you'll see some silver where that's the aluminum showing through where I've reamed it out. So the bolt's going to go through the reamed outside here, and that's reamed to make it easier to get this through. So all you're going to do is take this, twist it a little bit, and it's going to be a very, very tight fit, and I've explicitly said that in the instructions. And once you can get it started, now what you're going to do is take it, and now you've got the bottom of the pin on the table, and then you can just push down. Push and twist, and it'll slide right down. And as I said, this is going to be a very tight fit. And the reason for this, and I'll talk as I'm doing this here, is because this center pin is going to help keep the plates together, of course, but the plastic tubing is so they can spin more freely and not undo the nut and washer on top, and I'll show you that when I get there. So now you can see I've pushed it down all the way flat, so just to make sure it's all the way down here, and now you have the beginning of your assembly. Like I said, this is definitely the hardest part of the process, is just getting that pin through and getting it squared up, or getting it in there correctly. So once this is on, now we can assemble or install the transfer balls to the 4 corners here. So grab a transfer ball, going to line it up, going to grab our M5 little bolts here, and then put a washer and a nut on. And I'll speed up this assembly process here so you don't have to watch all this. All right, now once everything is tightened, so this was an 8 millimeter socket if you're wondering to tighten these nuts down. So we have the tubing on the pin in the center here that we're now going to slide over into the top plate. So again, the hole is reamed on the top plate here that you'll see the aluminum showing through. If you're seeing the circle around here, that's because this is one of my demo stands I've been using with the wear wipes right off because this powder coat's extremely durable. So anyway, we're going to set this over the top here, and all you're going to do is just push down, and we're going to drive that tubing and the pin up through the center here. And once you've pressed it down on here, the tubing will kind of, let's see if I can get up to the camera here. The tubing fills up the hole. It may stick up just a little bit through the top, and that's totally fine. And then you put a washer and a nut on, and if the tubing sticks up too much and you can't get the washer on, the nut by itself is just fine. The washer is really just kind of for looks here to cover up the tubing, but not absolutely necessary. Now, the point of the tubing is so that I can rotate this plate here and not be undoing this center nut on top. The tubing kind of helps the plate spin around the tubing instead of a bolt. If you try and just put a simple bolt through here and then a washer and nut on top and tighten them down, the spinning of the plate transfers into the washer and into the nut, and as you spin it, you'll just keep backing off that nut until it essentially will fall apart and come out. So the tubing helps transfer the motion so I can spin these plates and not have to worry about it falling apart. And even if, let's say, you don't put the nut and you don't put the washer on, with the weight of a tire on top here holding it together, you really don't even have to have the nut and the washer thanks to the tubing sticking in the center and holding them in place. So just part of the design. Like I said, with this demo, the nut and washer aren't actually super necessary as long as the pin stays in place here. And with the tubing being such a snug fit, you don't really have to worry about that too much. So anyway, I'm going to put the washer and nut back on top here. So now it looks nice and clean. And your holes on the top and bottom plate should line up. And that's where you can put your M14 pin when we get to that point where we've raised it up. So on to the next step here with installing the feet or the casters on either side. All right, so on to the feet or the casters. So I'll cover here real quick both options. So the feet obviously have a nut on here. Put a washer on and then stick it under one of the corners. Put another washer on and then another nut, and ta-da, assembled. So go around and do that to all 4 corners. I'm going to take this off to show you the casters as well. So if you ordered casters, they'll come with these white spacers that fit on here. Again, same thing. Oh, forgot. Need a washer on here first. Washer, caster through here, washer on top of that, and then a nut. Come on. So then you can have a mobile stand if you want. So for this example, though, I'm going to put all of the feet back on here. Okay, so now we have all the feet on, so we can go ahead and install the roller brackets onto each corner. So take one of these 3/4 inch long, 1/4 inch bolts through the center there, and then put a washer and nut on. And then you square it up flush with the edge here, and then use a 7/16 inch socket, tighten down. So I'll put on the other 4 now. So now if you just ordered the spinning base model without the support arm, the last step is to install the rollers. So you can install them in the top or bottom hole, doesn't matter. If you put them in the bottom hole, it'll stick up above the roller just a little bit. And this is a rounded edge, so you could use this to kind of catch the tire as it's walking both ways. So the shaft is spring loaded, so you can pull it out while you put the other side in. Pull the shaft back, insert the roller, ta-da. And the last thing would be to put in the M14 pin here. So it sticks right through. I'm just showing you this so you can see it on the front. Normally I do it on the side facing me. So now you can see bolt underneath there, and now it's locked in place. So now you can see how stable this is. So I can shake the whole table. It's locked in place. It's extremely sturdy. I've done a number of wheels on this already. Don't have to worry about this shaking around on you. So thank you for watching. If you just had the spinning base variant, if you ordered the support arm, I'll now go through the attachments and how to put that on the back here. Okay, so to start with the support arms, you'll have the top handle here, and you'll have the large arm, and you'll have 4 of these plastic caps. Now these caps just go into the end of all these. So here's one not in, here's one in. Obviously you can hit it flush. So I'm gonna put this one I left out of the base here. So you can take like a rubber mallet or a hammer, or you can just use your fingers to press it in a little bit and get to snap in. And then I just take it and press it down on the table here, rotate it a little bit, and presto, flush end cap here. So the first thing I'm going to do is install the brackets onto here. So you'll notice that obviously there's a top and a bottom here. So there's one hole up top here for the top bracket. There's 2 holes in the middle here for the middle bracket. So I'm going to take the bracket, place it on the holes, and then I have 2, these are 1 1/4 inch long bolts, I believe. These are 1/4 inch bolts. Put them through the holes here. So that's one bracket down, and then on the top one, you're going to want to mount it so that it's angled down, so this part sticks down and the 2 holes stick out. You can, if you want to raise the total height of the arm here. Instead of mounting in 2 holes here, raise it up, just mount in the lower hole of this bracket and the top hole here, and then turn it up if you want to give yourself a little bit of extra height, but just for the standard use. And 12-inch roller, I'm going to mount it down here. Again, bolt through, washer and nut on the back. And lastly, the top T-handle here. So you have some longer, I think 2.5-inch bolts here that go through this. And make sure you line up the holes like that. And then washers and nuts on here. All right, so now your back arm is pretty much done, except for I'm going to mount the hinge onto the bottom 2 holes here. So again, bolts through. All right, so you've got the hinge on the bottom here, and now I'm going to show you what you have to do to mount it to the back here. So obviously there's 3 holes here, so 2 of them are for the hinge, obviously, to fit on here like this. But before we mount the hinge, we have to install the plate, or the bracket here that's going to go underneath. So this bracket here lines up with this hole here. So if you hold it like this, this center hole here will line up with the bracket. And you're going to take one of your short 3/4 inch bolts, put it through the bracket, up through the top here, washer, nut, and then this will be flush with the back of the frame here. So you can see it right here on the bottom of the frame. And now that's what's going to mount the bottom of the frame up against the back of the spinning base here. So I'm going to take the hinge here, put it on top. Again, going to use 3/4 inch bolts, both sides here. Washer, nut. And you can see how everything's mounted here. So you got 3 bolts, the base plate, and then the hinge. Now, without the bolt in the back here, this can just fold down and collapse if you want it for easier storage. But we're going to mount this. So what I'm going to do is take this 1 1/4 inch bolt, and I'll try and capture this on camera. And I'm going to reach under here and feed it through so that it's coming out. So now the bolt has come out the back of the support arm here. And the reason for this is so that this isn't sticking out underneath the plate and can possibly hit the transfer rollers as it's going around. So you feed that through, put the washer and nut on here, and I would tighten it down some more, and now you have a solid arm here. Although, like I said, I need to tighten all this down some more. Everything is just hand tightened on here because I'm trying to get through this assembly video. There you go. Now I tighten it a bit more, so now it rocks the whole table pretty much. And that's the last thing you have to do. Support base is done. Now with the rollers on here, I would also recommend, if you're using the back arm, to take the rollers and angle them up. So the front should go through the top hole, and the back should go through the bottom hole. So now that the rollers are angled, you'll be leaning the tire back up against the support arm you're using here. All right, and the last thing to do here is stick the small roller in the top here. So I have it angled out like this, so the tire kind of catches on a little bit easier. Like I said, you can angle it back in the first hole, and you can change these brackets if you want, whatever suits your need. But now you have it, the spinning base with the support arm. So if you wanted to take out the pin here and rotate to your tire, you can do so. So that's it. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, as always, email me at thesourcegarage@gmail.com, and I'll help you walk through any things you're having trouble with. Thanks for watching.